Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today I want to discuss the classic Call of Cthulhu scenario, The Haunting. Written by the great Sandy Peterson and originally titled The Haunted House, The Haunting has been in print since the very beginning of the game. Save for the D20 edition, it has always been included as an introductory scenario for both keepers and players, and has been loved by thousands of players over the decades. In keeping with that tradition, the current incarnation is provided in the 7th edition Quick Start rules, which you can download for free off of the Chaosium website. I belong to a few Call of Cthulhu online role-playing groups, and with clockwork regularity, a new keeper or potential keeper starts a thread with, "I'm considering Call of Cthulhu and want to know what scenarios you would recommend for a first-timer." And if not the first, within the first 3 responses, somebody mentions The Haunting. There's a reason that this has been in print for constantly for nearly 30 years and has been a rite of passage for nearly every keeper in that time. In addition to its low cost of free, the scenario is very elegant in that it's short, playable in only a single session, and provides a good array of what Call of Cthulhu is about, and it does this while being very easy for a new game master to run. Players and keepers both get to leave the session with the ability to swap war stories with players from many generations. So if you're considering running Call of Cthulhu, download the Quick Start rules and enjoy this legendary scenario. If you're a player that's considering Call of Cthulhu or might have just started playing, tell your game master to check it out. However, from this moment forward, I'm going to be discussing the adventure itself, and I'll be laying out the spoilers. So players, please send your GM this way, but do yourself a favor and choose a new video to watch, lest you have the haunting experience ruined. Alrighty Game Masters, now that it's just us, let's talk about the adventure. The setup is that the PCs are hired to investigate a house after a terrible incident, and the owner wants a clean bill of health before he can sell it or rent it out. What no one knows is that one of the previous owners, Mr. Walter Corbett, is still there and is now an undead thing occupying the basement. Players will slowly figure this out as they research and explore the house, eventually discovering the fiend's secret and its hidden lair. I've run this scenario twice, once with the 6th edition rules and once with the new 7th edition ones. There are a few insignificant changes, but the player's experience while playing it will be pretty much the exact same. But this review will focus solely on the 7th edition version because that's the latest one. Some people have criticized the newest incarnation for being too large, blowing up a 7-page adventure to 20 pages. But for those critics, those changes are not for you. Those changes are for new and less experienced keepers, and I for one think it's awesome. The difference is that Chaosium has added a slew of handouts, tons of handy keeper tips perfect for a beginner to use, and a whole lot of art, all of which I strongly approve of. For handouts, we get 9, most of which are discovered by players while they're researching the history of the house. Art? Wow, we get several half-page pictures. We also get the infamous map of the house's layout. So huge props to Chaosium for that. However, I really wish they would have provided a map of the Chapel of Contemplation, the burned ruin of the cult church that Mr. Corbett once belonged to. While not a big deal, this is an introductory scenario, and I feel that new keepers would appreciate having a map of it. Thankfully, because it's such a well-loved scenario, there are fan-made maps out on the internet, not only for the Chapel of Contemplation, but for the Corbett house itself, a selection of them. There are so many resources out there, such as Yogg-Sothoth.com, where players can find not only alternate versions of the adventure handouts, but additional handouts as well, such as new newspaper clippings and even Corbett's journal. It's amazing how much and how wonderful these fan props are. So for new keepers, your problem won't be finding new material. It'll be narrowing down which of the new material you want to use. And art? Oh, there is some great art out there to fuel your imagination and your players' nightmares. One thing that does bother me with the newest version of Handout 1. First, the handout does not clearly state what the pay is. You have $25 up front, but what's the total reward? The previous edition said $20 a day with a bonus at the end, but the 7th edition version has none of that. New keepers that are unaccustomed to the pay rates from 100 years ago might want to know what a reasonable payment is for the entire job. Since this adventure is to train new keepers, I feel that information would have been important. Second, the handout gives the summary of the player's task at the end with the line, "Knowing your jobs, you will want to conduct some research before you head to the house. You can check out the old newspaper articles at the offices of the Boston Globe, head to the Central Library, or go to the Hall of Records. The choice is yours." The purpose of this is to help lead players that are inexperienced with investigative games toward the investigation. I get that. Players that are used to things like D&D will simply just want to charge into the house and might not even consider that the idea of investigating at first is even an option. However, I don't enjoy just handing it to them because that can lead to some bad habits of players expecting you to do that again in the future. It's also impersonal. This is a role-playing game, so let's role-play it. My solution to help my new investigators along was an NPC named Jack. Jack is a detective with a reputation for paranormal experience. Jack is also an alcoholic and a bit down on his luck. The PCs are friends of his, possibly under his wing, wanting to learn the ropes of supernatural investigation. Jack, in return, gets to ride in their car, use of their camera, because his is in the shop, and gets to lay out the sage advice, which makes him feel pretty important. So when the job comes their way, I had Jack say,
"Yeah, you guys handle the talking. I'll just watch and help you along if you need anything, all right?"
Because in his mind, he's a teacher. He's also a bit hungover. Once they agree to the job, if the PCs want to run immediately to the house, Jack says,
"Whoa! No. I don't want to go in there blind. What if there's a history or something? We should check this out, Maybe we can find something to help us out. Besides, he's paying us $20 a day. I don't want to have to do this all on the first day, if you get my meaning. Maybe 2 to 3 days in the library, might not be a bad idea."
That gives the players a reason why they should look into researching it first instead of just telling them that they can't. Also, during the course of their investigation, they can figure out that the Boston Globe and that the Hall of Records might have additional information, and if not, Jack can help steer them that way. Either way, let the players roll to find the information. Don't have your NPC do it for them.
I always seem to fail my rolls at the worst time, huh? What's that about?
Once they get to the house, steering the players is pretty simple, especially once Corbett starts making noise upstairs to lead them to his bedroom. Jack's definitely going to want to check that out before they head to the basement because
there could be a vagrant up there. Maybe we should check that out.
Once the PCs do go up and check out Corbett's bedroom, I had Jack stand outside the room.
"Hey, you guys, just go on in there. I'll stay out here in the hall, check our backs, make sure there's no vagrants coming up behind us."
Then, when blood starts dripping from the ceiling and the bed attacks, Jack fails his sanity roll. Once the PCs get out of the room and finish with upstairs, it's time to head to the cellar. Clever PCs who found the articles beforehand should already suspect that Corbett's body might be buried down there. But timing the appearance of the floating knife is supremely important. Now, there is no guessing how the players will go about the cellar, but chances are high that they'll start fidgeting with the coal room door. My most successful run at this room was when Jack and another PC were trying to get the door open, and Jack says,
"Hey, check that wall back there. See if you can find a crowbar. Pop this thing open, get inside, see if we find anything."
So a second PC walks across the room and finds the pry bar, and then when they turn around, the beam of their flashlight hits the floating knife that's angling itself behind Jack and the other characters. Now, a spot hidden roll by all those players will allow them to see the knife's shadow as it's cast on the wall before it strikes. Otherwise, it's a surprise attack. Now, when they're fighting the knife itself, if the players are using flashlights instead of lamps, you should mention to them how the knife is darting in and out of the beam of light, and it's really difficult for them to keep track of, maybe even require a spot hidden roll or two. It can really ratchet up the terror if they lose sight of the knife for a round or two and they're just looking around hoping they can spot it before it comes for them. And remember, if any of them fail a sand roll or they drop their flashlight, you should have them roll a luck roll to see if the bulb breaks when they drop the light, because that can really make it scary if the lights start going out while this knife is attacking them. Now, once they've defeated it and they've gotten through the wall to meet Mr. Corbett, Jack always seems to go insane at that moment. I don't know why. If the players look like they're going to lose that fight with Mr. Corbett, you can have your NPCs snap out of it at the last second just to help them out. But it's best if the killing blow is delivered by a PC. You shouldn't have the NPC save the day and deliver that final blow. Now, what happens after Corbett dies is up to you. It does sadden me that the magic amulet that Corbett wears in the previous editions is not in the 7th edition version. +1 POW in 6th edition becomes a +5 POW in 7th edition, and that can be pretty nice. So, it's not there anymore, but I guess it's no big deal. While the adventure is written for the classic Jazz Age Call of Cthulhu setting, players have adapted it to fit any time period. Once again, go to yogg-sothoth.com for a ton of great resources. My favorite of the alternate time periods is the modern day setting, where PCs are with this sort of reality TV show ghost hunting thing, and they're filming this as they go through the house. And for some reason, that really speaks to me as being a lot of fun. So one day I hope to try that. All in all, I think The Haunting, even in its newest form, is a spectacular adventure. It's perfect for new keepers and for new players just to get their feet wet. Also, being cheap is free makes it an easy choice for any people that are wanting to try out Call of Cthulhu without making any financial commitment. So keepers, if you haven't run your players through this scenario, I strongly suggest it.
Hey, thanks for watching. Please give me a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed this, and maybe you'll get to see my next videos when I post them. So, here's to you. Oh, God.